Who was truly wealthier, the bold Pablo Escobar or the quiet, calculating Cali Cartel? In the 1980s and early 1990s, both dominated Colombia's cocaine trade, but in completely different ways. Escobar, known as the king of cocaine, built the Medellín Cartel with a mix of fear, power, and public showmanship. The Cali Cartel, led by the Rodríguez Orejuela brothers, preferred to run their empire like a business, focused on strategy, secrecy, and influence behind the scenes. So, who controlled more wealth? Who had the greater reach? And how did their different paths to power shape the global drug trade? In this video, we'll dive into their rise, explore how they built their fortunes, and uncover the lasting marks they left on history. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the Narco Files for more hidden truths. Pablo Escobar, the king of cocaine. Early life and rise to power. Pablo Emilio Escobar. Gaviria was born on December 1, 1949, in Rio Negro, Antioquia, Colombia, and raised in nearby Medellin. Coming from a modest family, he experienced poverty early in life, which fueled his hunger for wealth and influence. From a young age, Escobar was ambitious and unafraid of risks, always searching for ways to get ahead. His first steps into crime were small but daring. He sold contraband goods, smuggled electronics, and even stole tombstones to resell. These petty schemes became the foundation of something much larger. By the 1970s, he turned his focus to the cocaine trade, drawn by the enormous profits it offered. His mix of ambition, intelligence, and boldness helped him rise quickly, earning both admiration and fear. These early years laid the foundation for what would become one of history's most notorious empires, the Medellín Cartel. During the 1980s, Pablo Escobar built the Medellín Cartel into the most dominant drug network of its time, controlling nearly 80% of the cocaine entering the United States. This gave him unmatched influence in the global trade and turned him into one of the most powerful figures in Colombia's history. Escobar's fortune was staggering. He bought properties, businesses, and even funded housing for the poor, earning both fear and admiration. Some saw him as a dangerous criminal, while others viewed him as a Robin Hood who gave back to the community. Forbes magazine even ranked him among the richest men in the world, estimating his wealth at around $30 billion by 1993, close to $80 billion today when adjusted for inflation. His power went beyond money, shaping Colombia's politics, economy, and daily life in ways that still leave an impact today: lifestyle and spending. Pablo Escobar's immense fortune allowed him to live in a way few in Colombia, or the world, could imagine. His most famous property was Hacienda Nápoles, a sprawling 7,000-acre estate that became a symbol of his wealth. It featured a bullfighting ring, a private airstrip, and even a personal zoo filled with exotic animals such as elephants, giraffes, and hippos. Escobar also spent heavily on his family, always prioritizing their safety and comfort. One story highlights the extremes of his wealth. While on the run from authorities, he burned $2 million in cash simply to keep his young daughter warm on a cold night. His lifestyle blended luxury, obsession with security, and constant risk. While it gave him freedom and influence, it also drew attention from enemies and law enforcement worldwide. Philanthropy and public image. Escobar carefully built a reputation as a Robin Hood figure, especially among the poor in Colombia. He understood that wealth and power alone were not enough. He also needed the loyalty of the people. To secure it, he funded low-income housing, developed soccer fields, and supported schools and other community projects. These efforts gave struggling families opportunities they had never dreamed of, earning him admiration despite his violent reputation. In many neighborhoods, Escobar was seen as a protector, someone who provided when no one else would. Because of this, locals often warned him of approaching police or protected him from capture. His generosity created a shield of community support that made it harder for authorities to act against him. This mix of fear and gratitude allowed Escobar to hold a unique place in Colombian society, both feared for his violence and admired for his generosity, making his influence extend beyond money. The Cali Cartel. The businessmen of cocaine. Origins and leadership. While the Medellin Cartel under Pablo Escobar was known for violence, extravagance, and constant media attention, the Cali Cartel operated very differently. Led by brothers Gilberto and Miguel Rodríguez Orejuela, Cali's strategy was built on patience, planning, and staying under the radar. They avoided the publicity that made Escobar a global target and instead focused on running their empire like a business. Rather than relying on open violence, the Cali Cartel built alliances and carefully expanded across the United States and Europe. Their quiet, calculated methods made them extremely wealthy, influential, and far more difficult to track. Operations and wealth. The Cali Cartel was one of the most powerful drug groups of the 1990s. It controlled nearly 70% of the cocaine entering the United States. Unlike Pablo Escobar's Medellin Cartel, which used violence and drew public attention, the Cali Cartel operated quietly with strategy and organization. They treated their empire like a business, relying on planning, alliances, and secrecy instead of fear. At their height, they earned about $7 billion a year. Though less flashy than Escobar, their low-profile style allowed them to grow strong, wealthy, and highly influential across the world. Lifestyle and spending. The Rodríguez Orejuela brothers built their power quietly, avoiding the flashy lifestyle of Pablo Escobar. Instead of showing off with mansions or exotic animals, they invested in legal businesses such as real estate, shipping, and other ventures. This strategy helped them launder money and stay under the radar. Their low-profile lifestyle and smart financial moves allowed the Cali Cartel to operate for years, making them powerful, wealthy, and much harder for authorities to catch. Downfall and capture. The Cali Cartel's downfall came in the mid-1990s when Colombian authorities, supported by the United States, launched Operation Search Block. In 1995, leaders Gilberto and Miguel Rodríguez Orejuela were captured, marking the end of the cartel's reign. Soon after, both were extradited to the United States, where they faced convictions on major trafficking charges. Their arrests proved that even the most strategic and low-profile organizations were not untouchable, closing a chapter in Colombia's history of powerful cartels. Comparing wealth and influence. When comparing the finances of the Medellin and Cali cartels, the scale of wealth involved is almost beyond belief. Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel was clearly the richer of the two, with an estimated net worth of about $30 billion at the height of its power. At its peak, the Medellin cartel earned nearly $420 million every single week, mainly from shipping cocaine into the United States and Europe. That level of income was more than what many countries generated in an entire year, showing just how vast Escobar's empire had become. The Cali Cartel, under the Rodríguez Orejuela brothers, was also incredibly wealthy and influential, but it operated very differently. Instead of showing off, they ran their empire more quietly, with careful planning and less exposure. Their estimated net worth was about $7 billion, and their operations brought in roughly $7 billion annually. While that is still enormous, it was nowhere near Escobar's weekly earnings. These numbers make the difference clear. Escobar's Medellin cartel was not just bigger, it was unmatched in scale, money, and influence. Escobar used his fortune to shape politics, society, and daily life in Colombia, while the Cali Cartel preferred to keep its power hidden in the background. Operational strategies. Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel dominated the cocaine trade with an approach built on open violence and fear. Escobar used kidnappings, bombings, and brutal attacks to eliminate rivals and intimidate anyone who challenged his power. His style was bold, ruthless, and highly visible, making the Medellin Cartel one of the most feared organizations in Colombia and across the world. The Cali Cartel, under Gilberto and Miguel Rodríguez Orejuela, followed a very different strategy. Instead of open warfare, they relied on corruption, bribery, and quiet partnerships to expand. Their careful, low-profile approach helped them avoid the constant spotlight that surrounded Escobar, allowing them to operate successfully for years with fewer disruptions. Despite their different methods, both cartels eventually faced the same outcome. With joint efforts from Colombian and U.S. authorities, their networks were dismantled and their leaders were captured, marking the end of their dominance. Legacy and impact. Escobar's legacy. Escobar's legacy remains one of the most complex in modern history. He was responsible for immense violence and chaos in Colombia, yet at the same time he built homes, schools, and soccer fields for the poor. This mix of fear and generosity made him both admired and hated. Escobar also became a symbol of defiance, showing how far ambition and cunning could take someone. Decades after his death, his story still captivates the world through books, films, and documentaries, keeping his name unforgettable. The Cali Cartel's legacy. The Cali Cartel may not carry the same fame as Pablo Escobar, but their influence was significant. They operated like a business, relying on strategy, secrecy, and careful organization to move cocaine worldwide. Their quiet, calculated methods set an example later followed by other groups. The fall of the Cali Cartel in the mid-1990s showed how intelligence gathering, patient investigations, and global cooperation could bring down powerful networks. Though less visible than Escobar, their story remains an important chapter in the history of organized crime. Who was truly wealthier, Pablo Escobar or the Cali Cartel? If we look only at money, Escobar's Medellin Cartel was ahead, with an estimated $30 billion compared to Cali's $7 billion. But wealth alone doesn't tell the full story. The Cali Cartel's careful, low-profile style helped them operate for years without drawing as much attention. In many ways, that made them just as powerful, even if they weren't as loud. Both groups left a lasting impact. Escobar's flashy lifestyle and violent methods caught headlines worldwide, while the Cali Cartel's quieter strategic planning influenced how global trafficking networks operate today. Their approaches were very different. One thrived on fear and fame, the other on patience and secrecy. So here's the question. Is it smarter to show your power openly, or to move in the shadows where fewer people notice?